everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in Broken Now Revive podcast. I am your host, Jocelyn, and I have a very special guest here with me, who is my guest host, and he is my brother, Vince Lamar.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm so excited that you stepped out on faith and finally decided to do what God has been um, touching your heart to do and just, ministering to your spirit. So I'm so excited to be here with you today as your guest host for Broken Now Revived podcast.
Yes. Yes, you are. So basically, I want to God laid on my heart to do this podcast because it's a lot of broken people out there, and it kind of helped me to reflect on the times where I was broken, the times that I may struggle. And life is hard, and we never want to feel like we're alone. Like it's not just you who may be battling with something, but you're not alone with the things that you are going to. So this it going through, but this is a safe space. So we are going to be doing some real raw topics, and we have a hot one today.
What's the topic today?
Rejection.
Rejection. Ooh.
Battling with rejection.
I know that's a lot. I know that a lot of people struggle in that area of rejection, and sometimes it can be hard to talk about just because of all the feelings that come with it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that the Lord led you to this specific topic
Yes.
today, just addressing and talking about rejection.
Yes,
Yeah.
I feel like rejection, that's something you cannot get through in life. You can't get around it.
Mhm.
We get rejected some way,
Yeah.
somehow. But the issue lies in is when you start to battle with rejection. So how about we dive right in? So what do you feel like rejection is? Like, what is rejection to you?
I think in layman terms, a lot of times we think of and we look at rejection as receiving a no.
Mm-hmm.
But it's deeper than just a no. When we think about it and we think about rejection, that goes into I don't want you, I don't need you, I don't desire you. Your presence is unwelcome, your contributions is unwelcome, and ultimately there's no space for you here.
Yeah.
Like when I think about rejection, like it's bigger than just a no,
Right.
But when you think about it and you think about just the overall experience of being just rejected by somebody, it also brings about just some ugly feelings within. And then it makes you feel as though like you're not good enough. And you're not worthy enough. And when you start feeling those feelings, then that spirals into, abundance of other issues.
Yeah.
How about you?
I agree. That rejection is like the ugliest feeling ever. I feel like that's the ugliest feeling that you can ever go through, like deal with outside of like heartbreak. But rejection, child, ugly. I feel like it comes to steal, kill, and destroy everything. So to me, I feel like rejection, I feel like you said it all. Like it's basically like we all get rejected from like, no, you did not get this job. We got a better candidate. You may hear a simple no, you try to shoot your shot. Somebody may be like, no, thank you. That's rejection. But
the thing about rejection though is it isn't just um you're not qualified,
Right.
you're not good enough, or you're not worthy enough, but it's in comparison to somebody else. If you didn't get the job, it's not that you're not the best candidate.
Yeah.
You're not the best candidate, so we're going with someone else.
Yeah.
I don't want to be with you, but I want to be with someone else.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you love, but I want to love someone else.
Oh.
And I think that in itself, then births comparison, envy and jealousy. It just really starts like unraveling the onion, essentially, because there's so many different layers to it. just as we're going through and like we're experiencing it, you know?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, like he about to take it to church today. Like he went deep into it. And we know that all rejection, of course, is not bad because sometimes God will
Mhm,
reject some things to just redirect you. But
mhm,
we're specifically speaking about the bad rejection, the one
mhm,
that hurts, the one that we
mhm,
carry
mhm.
with us.
I think all rejection hurts because
Yeah,
when you think about it, it's something that we want and that we're
yeah,
desiring. And then if God is telling us no,
yeah.
and we're like, wait a minute, I already made up my mind that this is what I want.
Exactly.
And what you mean, no?
Right.
You know?
Right. Like God, what? It's me? What?
Yeah. And don't let it be something that you've been praying and asking God for.
Right.
And then you think that it has finally arrived and that you
Mm,
finally have reached like that point of, okay, this is this is getting ready to happen
right.
finally.
Yeah.
And then it's still not it.
Yeah. Exactly. You be
Listen.
like, God, that hurts that you won't give me my way.
Yes, yes, it hurts, but it takes maturity in
Yes.
Christ
Yeah.
to not get mad and get upset and understand that he's just redirecting.
Yeah.
And when we think about it, like the word of God says in the book of Psalms, like the steps of a good man is
Order.
ordered by God.
Yes.
It's ordered by him. So we just have to allow him to direct us, lead us, and guide us, and
Yeah.
be okay with that.
Exactly. Yes, that's very good.
Yeah.
So where do you feel? So like we talked about like rejection,
Mhm.
right? And the feelings of it and
Yeah.
everything. Where do you feel that sometimes it's rooted from? Because I feel like it's deeper, like
Mhm.
you said, it's deeper than just the no or
Mhm.
or having that maturity in
Yeah.
Christ. Where do you feel like it's rooted from people who actually battle with that?
You know what? If I could take it to therapy, a lot of
Yes.
times when we start thinking about deeply rooted issues, it generally always circles back to our childhood.
Ooh.
And when we start really deep diving and exploring our childhood, it's like, when was the first time you truly experienced rejection? You know, and it's not just, and it's bigger than just like your little boyfriend or your little girlfriend or, you know, whatever at
Yes.
that time. But sometimes it comes from, it's usually from an adult,
Mm.
you know, where we experience that rejection first from,
Yeah.
and then it takes root from there.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when it's from our peers, we can recover from that a little easier.
Yeah.
But when we experience rejection, and especially from someone that we um, thought so highly of and
Yeah.
looked to be like our leader, our guide, and that pillar in our lives, and they missed the mark, and they're human.
Yeah.
You know, that could be so devastating.
Yeah.
You know, and if I could relate it to me, like when it first started for me, just with rejection, I would take that back to our dad.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love our dad, no shade to him or anything like that. But that was where, you know, my first experience of rejection came from,
Yeah.
you know, was from our father.
Yeah.
And his absence, you know, due to things beyond my control, your control, our control,
Yes.
but as a reflection of the choices that he made in life.
Yeah.
Because this was a thing when we talked about rejection in the beginning, when it comes to jobs and relationships and different things like that. It's bigger than just being told no, but it's being told that I'm not your choice.
Right.
You know, and when I thought about that, I thought about how dad would choose other things over his family
Yeah.
and choose other things other than us,
Yeah.
you know. And then even in our adulthood we would experience
Yeah.
him still choosing other things, though he didn't say I reject you. No, it
Yeah.
was still rooted, because it's like, man, it's like, when will I ever be your choice? When
Right.
would you ever, you know, choose to give me the time?
Right.
You know, choose to give me, you know, the full love, full choose to fully give me, you know, what I needed from you as my father. You
Yes.
know, versus everything else, everybody else. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. That's good.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, so that's facts. I feel like rejection does root from childhood. You
Mhm.
know what's crazy? It can even root from the womb. I
Ooh.
I was reading a book about like breaking the spirit of rejection, and he was explaining how you could be in the womb and feel rejected. You could have just an absent parent, never even met them and deal with rejection. So it's deeper than us. I feel like it definitely starts from childhood. And sometimes we don't recognize until we keep going in life, then the spirit comes and I feel like it kind of get bigger and bigger and bigger because you never dealt with the root of the issue. So I definitely feel like it's stemmed from childhood. That's where people start to battle from it. Because I feel like in your adult years, we get rejected along the way, but I feel like the battle comes is when it's through childhood.
But you know what, though, when we think about it from childhood and we think about some of the ways that we would cope, just even with the rejection, a lot of times we carry those same attributes over into our adulthood. And that's why you see a lot of childlike adults, especially like when they're rejected and how they're reacting and how they're responding, because a lot of times it's the way that they used to react or respond even as a child, but it has matured. You get what I'm saying? So it might be that spirit might have matured in a way where it's like you respond in just total bitterness, or you can't think anything good about anybody else, or you got this defense mechanism where it's like you expect the worst from everybody and everything, and then if it works out good, then it's a miracle. But those are some of the things that we tend to adopt as our coping mechanisms to help us to go through and get through. And I look at people's behaviors all the time, especially like when they're feeling like rejected, and you can almost see like a spirit in them just like rising up, just from a deep and a hurt place, and they never figure out how to manage when they felt rejected.
Yeah, that's good. And certain characteristics too is like perfectionism. Like, why do you want to be a perfectionist? Why can't you just never be human and be wrong sometimes? Like, so that's another cause of how you're dealing with rejection.
Because being a perfectionist means what you're saying is, if it's not right, I'm not going to be wanted, or what I'm doing isn't going to be accepted or welcomed. So it's like it has to be right because everybody has to love it, because I can't fathom or emotionally handle if they don't like it.
Yes, that's good. Okay, so we got to where we think it's rooted from. So I know you mentioned like childhood and like our father and everything. So have you ever struggled, like, although as a kid you don't really know you're struggling with it as a child, but now that you are an adult, like, do you feel like you ever struggle with it, like, or battle with it?
I think more so probably as a teenager, and early a younger adult, more so than now. It's not really something I deal with now, like at this point in my life. And what got me to that point was acceptance. And I tell people all the time, the sooner that you can start accepting some things about your life, the better off you're going to be. Because the thing is, I had to accept the fact that though those were his choices had nothing to do with me, but everything to do with him. And I had to be okay with that. I also had to be okay with the fact that he would never live up or measure up to my expectations. He can only be who he is. And I had to learn how to love him from that place. And it doesn't mean that you don't have boundaries or anything like that, but it's adjusting yourself so that you can live and get through. Or I guess you can call it a coping mechanism. But it takes maturity to get to that place, because it will be foolish of me to sit back and just expect him to do all the changing, and I do none. I have to change. Because think about it, and I tell people this all the time. This is my favorite thing to do when I'm talking to people. Close your eyes and think of 2 things about yourself that you do not like. And think about how long you've been trying to change those two things about yourself. And ask yourself the question, has it changed yet? And your answer is likely no. So if you
Yeah.
can't even change you,
Yeah.
what makes you think that you can change somebody else?
Ooh, that is a word right there. Wow.
If you can't even do it for yourself, what makes you think that you can do it for somebody else?
Right.
You just got to accept it. And if you can't accept it, you just need to go.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Like, what makes you think you can change someone else? Sometimes we think that we can, oh, I can get this person to change. I can get this person to be free from this. Like, you got to want it to actually be free,
Yep.
and that's even with ourselves. We have to actually want it in order to change, in order to be free. So I feel that, okay, you battled with rejection and you overcame it when in your adult years, like younger adult years.
I would say younger adult years. And it's like I feel like I I feel like God matured me a lot faster than he did the rest of my siblings.
Mhm.
And when I say that, it was a lot in our lives that I had already processed.
Mhm.
I've already accepted, and God was already dealing with me concerning it. So that's why when some of my actions didn't align with what you all thought, I should be doing or, engaging or whatever the case may be, I was in my process already.
Yeah.
And later in life, I feel like that's when you all started catching up and started seeing what I had already saw and started working through and doing the work with years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel that I feel like childhood, I feel like of course I dealt with rejection. We was in the same house. So of course I dealt with rejection. But I can remember the feeling it's when I went to school and you just get bullied.
Mhm.
Rejection can come from bullying.
Yeah.
It's like I don't fit in here. I don't belong. I'm getting picked on. I'm getting talked about. I'm getting called on my name. I don't even know y'all. I didn't even do nothing, and I'm here getting bullied.
But the funny thing about the bully,
Hmm.
sister, is the bully is also too battling with rejection.
Yes.
And it makes them feel better about themselves because they're putting themselves in a more superior position, but in an unhealthy way.
Hmm.
So it's like if I have rule over you and rule over your mood and how you feel about yourself, your confidence, your self esteem, what you think of yourself, how you flow throughout the day, um, then it makes me feel better about myself because now I feel like I'm not a loser,
Mm.
or that I have to, this is how I get my respect.
Yeah.
And I get my respect by taking something from somebody else.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're dealing with and they're battling with rejection even in their own household.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to deal with it or cope with it, the whole nine. Um, being a substitute teacher and being in the classroom, and also being in God, I see things differently than the regular teacher. Look at the children and I look at their personalities, and everybody has a role in the classroom.
Yes.
Every single person. There's the leaders, there's the bullies, there's the goody two shoes, there's the know it all, there's the laid back one that just kind of quietly maneuver just throughout the room. And when you think about it, these are all survival tactics.
Yeah.
And when you really sit back and you think about it, it's everybody wanting acceptance
Yeah.
and
Everybody.
everybody wanting acceptance and them going about it in a way that they know how to survive
Yeah.
and get it and obtain it. So there's some kids that's like, look at me, I'm in your face.
Attention seekers.
Attention seekers, yes. Then there's the ones that's just like, you know what? Maybe if I don't say nothing and I don't cause no problems and I stay out the way, I don't have to deal with it. but maybe they will also still notice me and notice that
Mm,
I'm not problematic
yeah,
and want me around and invite me into these spaces.
that was
You
me.
know, so it's so many, you know, dimensions like to this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like mine definitely stirred from like being bullied, and I grew up like saying I don't fit in. And I'm like, "Oh, God got me standing out because I don't fit in." But then I realized it was rejection speaking. And I went even in my adult years, like I feel like I just overcame rejection probably just a few years ago. And I'm now at the point like I realized it was rejection, but when I overcame it, I did not know it was rejection until like recently. I'm like, oh, I was dealing with rejection all these years.
Mhm.
And I in my adult years, I don't fit in, I don't belong. And I feel like the enemy speaking, you don't belong. But it's like he try to get you to walk out of your purpose, walk out of what God has for you, walk out of
Mhm.
something that you're doing. Like you may do stuff and feel like you're just not good enough, so it's like it was things that I was talked out of, like I'm not good enough, I don't
Mhm.
belong here, like I'm nothing, you know. So it's like I'm looking down upon myself because of the words that other people spoke over me before I even knew my true identity.
Wow.
So so yeah.
That's tough.
Hmm.
Because that the hardest part is while you're searching for your identity and you're dealing with rejection, you now start adopting that rejection and is who you are, and
Yeah.
that's your portion, and
Yeah.
that's not true.
Right.
So you start maneuvering and navigating through the world as a rejected person.
Hmm.
Your responses is responses of those and of one that have suffered, you know, from rejection. Your mindset starts centering around a person that has struggled from rejection.
Hmm.
How you interact, um, and just your temperament and your level of sensitivity, generally
Yeah.
is rooted from all of those feelings of being rejected.
Yeah, and I was very sensitive. Like my brother, he has like tougher skin, right? So I like to go to people who got tough skin. Like, tell me, am I tripping? Tell me, am I tripping? Because, child, I know I ain't tripping. So it's like I was so sensitive, and I'm like, God, why am I so sensitive? Why does everything cuts? Why does it hurt? Like, why am I sensitive? I don't want to be sensitive. We deal with cruel. This a cruel world, so it's like I need tougher skin to live in this world. So I did not know, like, oh, it's still from rejection. I also have been shy since I was a kid, and it's I'm just shy. But what it started to feel like in my adult years was I'm being I put myself in a cage, but also I feel like the enemy has put me in a cage. And when I flourish out of that cage, I feel like he sometimes still try to steer me back in where with, oh, you don't fit in or you're doing too much or so it's like all these mind battles start to play start to go in place, and it's like I want to go back in my cage, but it's like that's where the enemy wants me.
You know what? This is something that I do that people never understood or know why I do it. But you know, I love to sing, but I can't sing well. And sometimes I get on the internet and I sing.
Hmm.
And people be like, "Oh my God, be quiet! Like, shut up! Like, you cannot sing." I know I can't sing.
Yes.
But for me, the more comfortable I am putting myself out there doing things that I'm not good at, the
Yeah.
more confident I become.
Right.
Because it's like I know for myself I'm not great at this thing,
Yeah.
but it also puts me in a position too where it's like I don't care what you think
Exactly.
because singing brings me joy.
Right.
And when
Yeah.
we think about it, you know, the joy of the Lord is our strength.
Hmm.
And I find joy just within singing.
Yeah.
I love music. I like how it makes me feel. I love my playlist options. You know, as far as I'm concerned, can't nobody touch me, you know, when it comes to my playlist. But with that, though, the more I do the very thing that people have told me to stop doing and that I'm not good at, um, the more confident, you know, I feel. And it's like, you know what? I feel like singing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? I'm going to sing. I don't care who's present. I don't care if you think I can do it well. I don't care if you think I'm the worst person you ever heard at it. But I'm to a point where I'm so comfortable in my skin
Yeah.
that I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
And you can say whatever you want to say. But this little light of mine,
I'm
I'm
gonna
going
let
to
it
let
go.
it shine. But what I'm saying is, and it's bigger than just singing,
Hmm.
but it's when I'm doing something that God has called me to do and it feels uncomfortable, will you still do it?
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need to start practicing doing a thing that makes us feel so uncomfortable so that when God presents what it is that He's truly calling us to do, will you be confident enough for your response to God being yes? I may not have all the answers, I may not be completely good at it, but God, I give you a yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to obey you. I'm going to submit to this assignment and I'm going to do what you're calling me to do. So you get my yes. I don't care how I look, what people say about me, how uncomfortable I am doing it. I'm going to do it because this is what God is calling me to do.
Yes, that's good. You definitely have to just shoot for it. One thing about my brother, he try a lot of stuff. If it don't work out, it don't work out. If it do, then wonderful. But one thing about him, he's going to explore all of his options, like all of it. He just posted something on Facebook the other day. You did like tuxedos and stuff, and I was like, it's just so funny to see like how many things he did in life and nothing he did not let that stop him, so I feel like if you don't overcome rejection, you can't shoot for the stars because it's going to always hold you back.
Mhm.
So that was very good, like very, very good. Like I pray like somebody got some wisdom from this or some help. But what would be some words of wisdom? So as we end this episode, like what would be words of wisdom or advice that you would give someone out there who may be battling or struggling with rejection now?
Um, my final words that I would share with somebody battling and struggling with rejection is go back to that place where it first started for you and accept what was and accept the fact that you cannot change the past,
Yeah.
but you have the ability to rewrite your future. And you should find beauty and confidence in that,
Hmm.
and allow God to do the rest of the work just in you and through you.
Yes, that's very good. Some words of advice I would give you is know that you are good enough. You are good enough. You are valuable. And if nobody else accepts you, know that God has accepted you. And we do need, we need people. We do need people. It took me a long time to say that. I'll be like, I don't need nobody. I am good with me and Jesus. But you do need people. But know that God loves you first and start to love yourself. When you love yourself, I feel like you won't so much struggle and battle with rejection. Because when you don't love you, you looking for anybody to love you because you're battling with just that rejection. So learn to love yourself. Do things that make you happy and just know that you're valuable on earth. And we love you. So yes, so we thank you for tuning in to Broken Down Revive podcast. If you enjoyed this, leave a comment, like and subscribe. We will be posting this on YouTube, Apple Podcast. So yeah, so we hope you guys enjoy, and we will see you on our next episode.